Hey everybody, welcome back to Glass Fuses. My name is Patrick, and today we are reviewing the 2023 Mazda CX-50 Turbo Premium Plus. It's the top of the range for the CX-50, and it comes in at around $45,000. And I think that it has a better idea of what it is as a vehicle than it really gives itself credit for. Because if you really think about it, in the world of crossover SUVs, they're always trying to be bigger. They're always trying to look more aggressive. They're always trying to look larger. But this kind of seems more like a wagon. And you know what? It's really good that it seems like a wagon, because everybody knows that wagons are just cooler.
Check it out.
Did a little bit of investigating, and I found out that the dimensions of this car are actually almost closer to a Ford Focus than they are a Ford Explorer. So if that gives you anything, it's kind of where it sits in the hierarchy of body styles, I guess. So a little while ago, I did a road test of the Toyota RAV4 Prime. That's the plug-in hybrid version. And I was pretty impressed with it, but I was shell-shocked that it was a $51,000 RAV4. This is still about $44,000, which is a lot, but it's also kind of a lot more vehicle. There is no hybrid technology here, no batteries, nothing at all. You've got a 2.5-liter Skyactiv turbo 4-cylinder with quite a bit of power. You've got 226 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque. It's probably where that 3,500 pound towing rating comes in. But when you think about that, it's kind of almost like, could almost call it like a Mazda Speed 6 wagon. But even though all the ingredients are there, it's not trying to be a sports car. It can be. Somebody might be able to get a tuner on it and have some fun with it, but the turbo on this and the way that it's set up is meant more for economy versus sporting fun, which is sad, but that's understandable. And speaking of which, on the highway, I did a couple of trips back and forth to the north suburbs of Chicago and back, and saw my friends at Grid Life the other night. And I'm getting about 29 to 30 miles to the gallon on the highway, which is actually a few more than the RAV4 Prime was getting, with a whole lot less horsepower too. So kind of a little unusual there in how you can get more power and better fuel economy by ditching the hybrid batteries, but who's keeping track of what? So, got a couple modes in here. You've got the regular standard driving, then you've got sport driving, and then you've got off-road. Off-road I haven't really had an opportunity of testing, so I don't know how much it works off-road. It's raining out, as you can probably see, and it's not really going to be a good test of what it can do in the rough, but I would imagine that it probably does a pretty effective job at controlling four-wheel spin with the all-wheel drive system. But I can't, with the all-season tires that it has on there right now, I can't imagine that it's really going to be, it's not going to be winning any over. It's not going to be winning over any Jeep enthusiasts. We'll put it that way. Power does come on pretty strong. We'll do a little downshift and a turn here. And the 6-speed automatic transmission is actually not all that terrible for an automatic transmission. Let's give it some power. Seems to fall off quite a bit after 5,700 RPM. It says that the red line is right around 6,250, but just now when you saw that, you may have seen the confused look on my face. I've got it in manual transmission mode. Manual. Without a clutch, so it's not a real manual. And watching the revs rise, and right as it gets to about 5,500, it just... So, I don't know what that was all about. I might have to give it another little test here and maybe see from first gear. So down to third, down to second. Won't let you downshift to first. Okay, that's interesting. There's first. Yeah, it limits it. Okay. It pulls harder from mid-range as well. I mean, that pull from about 4,000 RPM is really, really strong. I'm going to see how it does from about 3,000 RPM. Turbo lags a little bit, but yeah, it kicks in. So your power band is right at around 4,000 RPM. And the transmission shifts fairly quickly. It's not a DCT. It's not a dual clutch by any means, but it's not that bad either. But you really don't kind of want to use all of that. It's you know in the back of your head that it's meant for economy, and so just yeah. Now, one of the good things about this car is that you do get a really, really smooth ride. There is no trick suspension here really, but you do get the benefit of just a really well-tuned regular strut, regular spring suspension. You've got big 20-inch tires that kind of crash over bumps every now and then, but it's not that bad. I still can't get over the fact that the interior is such a high quality compared to everything else that's on the market. Maybe it's these little bits of leather that are on the dash and on the doors and the contrast stitching on the seats, but it just seems to be so much better than everything else that's out there. Everything else seems a little bit plasticky and a little bit cheap and a little bit chintzy, but this doesn't seem to be cutting corners really anywhere. It justifies pretty much all of its $40,000, $45,000 price range. So the all-wheel drive Premium Plus package adds quite a few things. You get heated seats, heated steering wheel, upgraded sound system, which by the way is a Bose sound system. And it's all right. It might not be the greatest one that I've ever heard, but it's definitely better than other ones that I've experienced before. You get Apple CarPlay, which is always a good thing to have in pretty much any modern car. This one does it via Bluetooth, so you don't have to be direct connected to the infotainment system. And that's the other thing. Mazda's infotainment system here in the center console is probably one of my more favorite things that Mazda has as a design concept compared to everybody else. Really, the only thing you ever have to reach forward for to control is your HVAC controls and your heated seat and steering wheel that you get extra in the Premium Plus. Everything else is handled right in this little center console, and it just makes life so much easier. Your volume button's down there, your whole navigation command system is down there, all of your quick press buttons are down there, and it's just easy and it works. It reminds me a lot of the Mercedes systems, which I can only imagine are probably not cheap to to engineer something that is all the way down here that works with a system up there. But yeah, just they've done this right, and they've done it well, and I appreciate that. And I've taken the wrong road for where I'm actually looking to go, but that's okay. I wanted to go in the back roads anyway. I promise. So yeah, you do have all-wheel drive in this vehicle, but that's the thing. It's not, your trail button, sure, okay, whatever, but you're never going to be competing with King of the Hammers in this thing. Everybody knows that, and you're not going to be wowing over anybody with a Jeep because they're going to talk about how their, Dana 44 axles are so much better than everything else on the road. But that's okay because this isn't trying to be a Jeep. It's a station wagon that can probably do pretty decent off-road if you really wanted it to. It's also not trying to be a sports car either. Like I was saying about the engine, yeah, you have all the ingredients for a fun car, but it knows that most of the people that are going to buy this are going to want to have good economy out of it, and it gets it. So why complain about something that it accomplishes extremely well? Maybe in the future Mazda can make a sporting version of this. I think it'd be pretty cool. We've seen how Ford has made ST versions of pretty much everything on their lineup. So you've got the Edge ST, the Explorer ST. There really isn't a reason why this couldn't compete directly with those types of vehicles. You've got everything that you need to make it fun and enjoyable, maybe at the expense of a couple of MPGs, but why not, Mazda? I think it would be fun. I'd like to test it. It would be wonderful.